Folks, continuing chapter 42. So, the Alter Rebbe here now starts to connect some of the ideas that we've previously mentioned. The idea that we're speaking about is to contemplate, ponder whatever a person's capable on how God is truly omnipotent. In the higher and the lower worlds, God truly is transcendent and immanent at the same time, which is obviously a paradoxical notion, right? Because in the human condition, either you're beyond or you're within. Either you're immanent or you're, kind of aloof. But God, no, is both at the same time. And further to contemplate on how God actually looks and sees us and sees our innards, meaning what we really think and what we really feel, where we're really at, and our actions, our words, that everything matters. That's what he's looking at. He's not looking at it in order that we should be punishing, but that when he's looking so, then we will change our behavior. Simple. Right? Change our behavior because we recognize God is present. And therefore will be at any time be able to turn away from evil, from negative behavior, and do good. Do good where? Good thoughts, proper speech, and proper actions. And which really means that we're not rebelling against God. We're doing what he wants of us. And with this, if you recall, we quoted earlier from, actually in chapter 41, from Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, who was the leader of the Jewish people in times of the destruction of the Second Holy Temple. And upon his passing, actually after the destruction of the Second Holy Temple, with his passing, he told his students, gave them a blessing, that you should be able to have the fear of God as you have the fear of man. And they were kind of disappointed because they felt that that was a very, kind of blessing. That's all we're able to achieve. He said, you know what? That's actually not such a simple task, because whenever we feel the presence of another human being, especially if it's a human being we want to impress, then we act differently than when there isn't another human being there. If we would be able to have in our lives that recognition of God, that he is constantly present, then we would act differently, right? Why? Because, just think about it. I mentioned this before, but the Alter Rebbe is bringing this together. If you are in the presence of a person that you really admire and you really want to be connected with them and not being disconnected from them, you really want to have a strong bond, you really love that person. So in their presence, you would act differently than in the presence of nobody or in the presence of, of nobody, or of nobody, or your pet animal. Your pet animal, you're going to act whatever way you want to act, But in the presence of a person that you really admire and you really want to connect to, really think about that. This is an aside, and I just feel compelled to say this. It just as an aside, the Alter Rebbe isn't saying this. But what comes out of this is, in the company of people that we love, we act different. We react much more relaxed, right? We're not as careful. That is in the company of somebody who is not a loved one, because we don't care so much about what they think of us, the loved one. Whereas, it's like, when you, I'll just give you a simple example. If you're not dressed so appropriately when you, and someone comes to drop off something at the house, well, you make sure you dress appropriately because you're going to the door. But if in your house with a loved one, how I dress, how I act, it doesn't matter. Well, this teaching is telling us, well, it does actually matter. It should be the opposite. The person that you love, you should actually probably dress and act more appropriately than the person who, right? But what is it? We're not thinking about the connection to that person. We're just thinking about ourselves. And so, the image that we have, that we want to portray in front of a stranger, is different than the image we want to portray in front of someone who kind of got used to being there. So the Alter Rebbe is telling us here the opposite. That's just, I think, a beautiful idea that we can take away from this on a human level. Is that if that person is present and you really care about your connection to that person, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai is saying that any person is present. I'm just adding the dimension that if you really care about that person, then you'll be careful in how you think, talk, and act towards that individual. But the truth is, if it's just any individual, we will act differently. So that's really quite an accomplishment to be able to have the presence of God in that manner, that He is present and sees, inside of us, not just seeing superficially, but He knows what's going on in our hearts. He knows what's going on in our thoughts. And as a result, the whole point of that mindfulness is that I should act differently. Not because God's punishing. Again, I might overemphasize that, but I think it's really important because in Western society, it's more of a punishing idea, and that's not what the Alter Rebbe is bringing out over here. And then with this, then we can understand what we brought up at the beginning of this chapter, if you recall, that the Talmud, based on the verse in Deuteronomy, in Devarim says, what does God ask of you but just to fear Him? And then the Talmud asks, well, is that such a simple thing, just to fear God? And the Talmud answers, yes, it is. For Moses, for Moshe Rabbeinu, it is simple. So the Alter Rebbe asked on that, well, we're asking about every single Jew, and the Talmud is giving us an answer for Moses. It's easy for him. Oh, very good, it's easy for him. But how does that help me? So what does the Alter Rebbe explain previously? That yes, we have a piece of Moses in us. We have a part of his soul that he's bequeathed to us. And what is that part of that soul that is being bequeathed to us? Das. That we can connect to God on a profound, deep level, that God is present. Actually, this is not even a profound, deep level. This is the minimal level. This is what is in our very soul, that he bequeathed to the souls of the Jewish people, that we have this quality in our divine soul that allows us to be able to reflect through Das. Das is the taking intelligence, information, Bina, Chachma and Bina, and bringing it into something that is demonstrative, that's real, that is effective upon us, that is changing us in our behavior, that we have that capability of reflecting upon the reality and the truth of God's presence, that it will indeed arouse that sense of fear meaning here presence, and because of that fear of presence, that it will lead me to act differently. So I'll give you an example. It's a short class today. I'll give you an example. You wake up in the morning and you say Moidani, Lefanecha, Melech Chai V'Kayim, She'achzarti Bi Nishmasi, Chamarabim L'Nesecha, thanking God for restoration of our soul. And then you ponder the presence of God. So she pondered that moment, the presence of God, by saying that God is present. So the human condition might be just turn over to the other side and go back to sleep because you're kind of lazy. It's just easier to do. Or you wake up with full vigor because God is present and He's given you a day. You've just thanked Him for the day. So wake up with with vigor to engage in your day that He has given you. That's a simple, or throughout the day, kind of, of losing your focus. Think for a moment. God's presence gives you the calmness of mind, by the way, that, hey, God's giving me a day. Let me focus on what does He need from me. And then do whatever it is. Or if you're engaged in a moment with another individual, a loved one, and you're in a challenged moment, think for a moment. God is present. Now respond to that challenged moment with that perhaps challenged individual or the challenge you're having with that individual. Respond then based on the fact that God is present. Of course, the response is going to be very different than if God isn't seeing me in that moment, empowering me in that moment, because He is seeing, and now I can dig deeper inside of me and respond very different to this individual in this moment. That's very powerful. Something to live with. Something for all of us. Okay, Adam, good morning. All right, from Atlanta. Stephanie from Illinois. Cynthia from Ohio, Boker Tov. Deborah from Texas. Shalom. Lorianne. Thank you, Lorianne. Very sweet. Cindy from from Florida. Prayers for Nova Scotia. Yes, terrible. Denise mentions learning Tanya today in the memory of those who perished in the Holocaust is Yom HaShoah. Yes, we should remember all those souls that have perished, 6 million, and may their soul go from strength to strength. And by you learning Tanya, you're helping their souls. Absolutely. Thank you. Mark from Santa Rosa, Irma from St. Martin, Linda from New York, Ita, Annie from Costa Rica, shalom, Sally, shalom, and Karen from Miami, hello, Cassie. All right, Jillian Russ, Shavua Tov from Boca, Louis, Martin, and Sarah Malka. Okay. I think I got everybody. Angelina from South Texas. Marla. All right, folks. A reminder to share. Sharing is caring. Share the Alter Rebbe's teachings with others. This is crucial that we need to really empower people with these teachings and make a world of difference. More on that to come. A reminder for those who want more teachings, private message me. So, Abba from Crown Heights. For those who want more, private message me so we can keep you posted. New things are coming up. All right, folks. God bless you all. Have a wonderful day. Rabbi Ronnie Fine coming to you from my home in Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. Great day.